Hello, my name's Clara Hermia. I'm a BBC radio presenter and a self-love and confidence coach, and I'm really excited to be part of this year's Shine Connect conference. Now, as you know, dating can be difficult enough at the best of times, let alone after a cancer diagnosis. So today's session is all about dating after cancer, and I'll be joining you after the session as part of the Q&A, so I hope to see you there. And in the meantime, if you fancy checking out my YouTube series around the UK in 80 dates, then please feel free to do so.
Welcome to the Dating After Cancer session, which we are focusing on medical disclosure, how to disclose your medical history and building up confidence. And I'm joined with Claire and Jess here. And yeah, should we do a couple quick intros first? Should I say as well, actually, before that this is a pre-recorded session, and then we are going to be going straight into a Q&A afterwards, with a couple more of us as well, just to answer some of your questions. So if you've got anything you want answered, write it down, and you can let us know afterwards. But my name's Neil. I work for Shine. I've been, I think we were talking earlier, and I came along to a Dating After Cancer session 3 years ago, I think. And it was, it really sort of helped me understand what was going on. And that was run by Jess and another Claire, who can't be here tonight. But yeah, I think I'm really keen on sort of building confidence and that idea. And I think hopefully there'll be some insights that can help you guys. And yeah, I'll pass over to Jess before I keep waffling on.
Thanks, Neil. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Jess. I'm one of the Shine London network leaders. And I was diagnosed with a rare type of blood cancer when I was 36. I'm now 42, which, you know, what is that, 6 years or maybe 7, because I kind of had it for a year before I was diagnosed. And I am a self-declared expert in dating. I think I probably have been on over 100 dates in a fairly, short couple of years, and have been through pretty much everything there is to go through. So that's a little bit about me. I also should say, my cancer is chronic and incurable, so I will have it for the rest of my life, but it is treatable. So fingers crossed I'll be here for a while yet. Thanks.
Yeah. So I'm Claire. I was diagnosed with cervical cancer 5 years ago, so I've had my 5 years all clear. So that's been really good this year. I was left infertile through my treatment, so that's been another sort of dating issue for me to address. And I got involved with Shine pretty early on after my cancer treatment, probably about 4 years ago now, and went on a Shine weekend. So that's how I got involved. Yeah, so hopefully I can share some words of advice. I wouldn't say I was a dating expert like Jess, but hopefully I can impart some knowledge from my experience.
Yeah, I'm just more deluded, Claire. That's
Obviously, I forgot to say I was on first dates as well, so I might not have any dating knowledge, but I am mad enough to go on national TV.
Love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, I guess the first point that we were going to kick off with, which is a question that we hear a lot within Shine, is sort of questions around disclosing your medical history and like how do you go about doing that, and everyone's got their different sort of takes and opinions on it. I think my thoughts are there's no completely right way and no completely wrong way. I think everyone's quite individual. And I think what I found quite useful was coming up with a bit of a script so that I knew how to answer that question, and then it would be easier to manage the other person's response. So sort of thinking, right, I'm just going to have a few sentences. I'm going to make it nice and easy for them, because I can see that it's quite a big thing to leave someone with on a first date, or whenever you do want to tell someone. And I'm aware some people do write it in their dating profile, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just personally, I wouldn't do that. But I think everyone's quite individual. And I wonder, Jess, what are your sort of thoughts around disclosure?
So disclosure is a massive issue for everybody. And I think the thing that I really strongly agree with that you said is that it is different for everybody. And even with me, I have changed my opinion on disclosure over time. So when I was first diagnosed with cancer, I wasn't confident about it. I didn't really understand what that meant for me, let alone, you know, a future partner. And I basically just didn't want to mention it at all. So if you have heard me talk about dating in the past, I would have been very adamant that I didn't disclose it. I think over time, as I have grown more confident, more settled, got used to living with cancer, because I'm always going to have cancer, like mine never goes into remission. Now I care a lot less actually about putting it in there. And with my experience in dating, I have found that not everybody can deal with somebody that has cancer. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but I just mean for whatever reason, like everyone's got baggage, right? And some people are kind of upfront and know about their own baggage, and other people don't until they're in that situation. But I have met people who weren't able to handle my health issues. And I don't just have cancer, I've got a whole load of other immune diseases and health issues as well, some of which as a result of the cancer treatment. So I have chosen now to put it in my profile, but in a bit of a light-hearted, jokey way. So now I think my profile, it says something like cancer survivor. So I'm not into wasting my time or yours. So then I'm like, got it out there. I've said that I've got cancer. If they don't know I've got cancer, they should have read my profile.
Put them off straight away.
But, you know, the people that are put off by it, and this is like a super serious point, the people that are put off by it aren't for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to date them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a really important part of what you're saying is even everyone can have a different take on it, but it doesn't have to be that take you don't have to settle for that take for the whole time. You could be like, after a year or something, you can think, oh, actually, I'm looking at it this way now, and I want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, and I mean, we all change over time. We all change our thoughts and opinions. So really, remembering that I think is important as well.
Yeah, I think it is really fluid depending on who you are, where you're in your sort of stage of your cancer treatment or your journey. Yeah. And who it is that you're going on a date with. It totally changes how you deal with it. And I think depending on what your cancer is and how it has affected you, you may have physical disabilities that are quite obvious, or you may have so obviously, as I said before about infertility, you'll find that often comes up on a first date. Oh, do you want kids or things like that? It's unavoidable. It's just one of those things. So I think it's sort of like you were saying, Neil, having a sort of spiel. Like I sort of got used to that. Oh, do you have kids? And I think when it first happened, I'd overthought it so much that I literally just sort of splurged my whole story. But yeah, you get used to it. I think the more dates that you do go on, and I think when you first start dating, you can have like zero confidence and you don't know, you just expect the worst. Yeah. As it goes on, you realise actually this probably isn't going to happen, and actually, you know, you get some really good responses from people when you do tell them things. And then you are a lot more happy to open up and explain these things to them on your dates. It flows more. It's not as awkward and as stilted as it could be. So yeah, I think I at first probably didn't want to bring it up when I first started dating, because I lacked the confidence and I didn't want to talk about it. Now I have a lot more confidence. As I said, I've been on national TV and done it. And I'll just be totally open and upfront about it. I don't feel like I have anything to hide. And it's like you were saying as well, Jess, if they can't handle it, then that's not my issue whatsoever. It is who I am, and take it or leave it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
And I think that really, you mentioned confidence there as well, and I think that really ties into it. I mean, I know from my perspective, because after cancer, I'd become vulnerable. I'd lost confidence both in myself because I'd gained a bit of weight and I didn't have as much hair. Well, I didn't have any hair at the time, but you know, I had a big scar on my head and just didn't feel like myself. So I'd lost my physical confidence, but also mental confidence as well. I'd always been a really confident guy, so it was really odd sort of losing that. I think that did have a knock-on effect with like talking about things, and I think it's an important part of I struggle with the phrase new normal, but sort of regaining yourself and understanding your new self. And sort of, for me, confidence was a huge one. So I know I recognized at one point, I was like, my confidence is really low. And so I started to think, you know, what could I do to maybe improve it? And I started realizing that it wasn't even in a dating way. I could sort of improve my confidence just by chatting to people. So waiting at the bus stop, if there's someone standing next to me and thinking, well, I'm a bit too scared to talk to that person, even not in a dating way, it could be an old man or something. But just saying, you know, how's your day going? And then celebrating those little goals and celebrating just practicing, getting more confident. And I think practice was a big one as well in terms of going on dates and thinking, this isn't me meeting the love of my life. This is me practicing dating and not putting all that pressure on yourself, just sort of thinking, right, I'm just going to see how this goes. Some things I'm going to celebrate that I've done well on, because I think I recognized I didn't have a lot of self-compassion there. And some things I'm going to be like, I could really maybe improve that next time. But yeah, so I think with confidence, I think that's how I sort of looked at sort of building it back up. And I think it's definitely not a finished journey. I think I do still have elements there where I'm still building up my confidence, and I still might go into a room of people that I don't know and think, this is a bit scary, and then think, right, how am I going to sort of chat to people and sort of celebrate myself doing that? But yeah, do any of you recognize that at all? Or
Oh, definitely. Like I suffer with anxiety, and I think like after everything that I'd been through, the treatment and everything, and when it all stops and, like you say, life gets back to normal, whatever that is, I think I had lost all self-confidence, and my anxiety was through the roof. But I think I kind of felt like that was what life was always going to be like. I just had to accept that was, you know, how it was going to be. And I probably did, like you say, put a lot of pressure on myself to go out and get back into the dating world. And it probably, in fairness, wasn't the right time. But like you say, on reflection, I probably learned a lot from those dates, which then when I have got a bit more confidence and, well, it's all about self-love, isn't it? If you can't love yourself, they always say that, if you can't love yourself, how can you love someone else? If you've no respect for yourself, things like that, then you're probably going to struggle going on dates. And I just think spending more time on yourself before you start dating is probably a really good thing to do, and build your confidence back up again, and then you'll feel more confident about going on dates. Because it does get better.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that, Claire. I mean, again, you can probably tell from this recording, actually, me talking to strangers isn't really something I struggle with. But like, that isn't to say that I haven't had mental health problems. You know, cancer is a bit shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but you know,
Too late now.
you can edit it out, it's fine. But you know, it is really rubbish. Cancer is, it takes a lot from you. Think of all of the things that you've lost because of your cancer, whether it's your independence, your fertility, sometimes even your partner, your health, blah blah blah. But also it is a great time to reflect on who you are and what actually matters. And one of the best things about cancer is that it teaches you, I think, what is important in life. And, you know, eventually you do get more confident because you do know what is important. If, like, I'm not talking about all of the issues that you can have with your kind of self-esteem and body and how your body is changed, because that is a different kettle of fish. But I think knowing what is important to you and having the confidence to be scared for like 2 minutes when you meet somebody new for the first time on a date, when you get over that, every time you do it, it gets easier and easier and easier. Yeah. So I guess that's what I'd say. Just really quickly on body issues. I was on steroids as part of my treatment, and I mean, I can see Neil nodding away there. Like, steroids are, I have a love-hate relationship with them. I love them because they have saved a lot of my body, and I wouldn't have parts of my body without them to curb infection and stuff. But they also meant that I put on, I think, 1.5 stone and went up 4 dress sizes in 2 months. And for somebody that is quite petite and has been all of my life, like, that really messed with my head and my confidence. But even then, there were bonuses. Like,
Boobs.
I had bigger boobs.
Snap.
But, you know, bigger boobs, risk of psychosis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on steroids. I was on steroids, and I also had bigger boobs. So.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You see, you can't have this kind of bants if you haven't had cancer.
I used to always think, like, for me, I always felt like I had to be prepared when I went on my date. I was always like, what is the worst case scenario? And I can guarantee every time I went on it, I would come up with the worst case scenario. It never happened. It never happened. Yeah. Like, even if it was a bad date, it was only just sort of like, no one was ever nasty. I don't think anyone would go on a date and be nasty, you know.
No.
I just don't think they would do that. And if they do, then they're quite clearly not the right person anyway. But even if it wasn't the response I was hoping for, or we didn't get on, or, you know, so what? You just move on, you know. Like you say, life's short. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're not the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah, just got to get out there. And I had way more like fun dates and laughs and like really interesting conversations. And you don't know what other people have been through. So I went on a date once, and it was quite near the start, and I was worried about talking about my cancer. And he just blew me out the water by telling me he was in the Manchester Arena bombing. And I was just like, well, you know, and he was just talking about his experience. You just think he was probably feeling the same coming and telling me about that. So you can never sort of prejudge or expect people to behave or think certain things. It's sort
absolutely.
You just got to be as open-minded as you can be about it, really.
Yeah. It's really interesting you say that, because I have found I'm not single anymore, but when I was single, going on dates, and I found that me bringing something up and me essentially bringing up the fact that I had or was willing to be vulnerable around them, or talking about something quite deep like that, would often start a conversation where they would say, "Oh, I've struggled with this," or my father passed away, or my one of my siblings is had health problems, and it would quite often it would be a catalyst for having a much deeper conversation, which was really interesting actually. And at the start, when I was terrified about disclosing stuff, would then make me realize, oh, actually, like it's not all negative. I mean, not saying that having cancer is a great experience, but it doesn't have to be such a huge thing. I think that's essentially, I made it into such a huge thing, and who's going to want to date me because of this? Yeah. But actually, dating is a bit of a minefield already. And then I'm never really going to know if I'm always having this ball there and thinking this is why, and just kind of separating that. And I think, it was really quite profound at points. Yeah.
I think, Neil, what you're describing, I totally relate to. And the thing that every single person that dates with cancer, either who've had a previous diagnosis or are living with cancer, you're only 50% of that date. Don't forget there's another person there that has got a whole bucket of insecurities and worries and, oh, what are they going to think of me? Is she going to like me? Is he going to like me? What are they going to think? Yes. You know, and it's easy, I think, unless you talk about it like we are today, to get caught up in those kind of, you know, little mind traps that we lay for ourselves.
Dating just brings out the negativity in everybody, I think, doesn't it? It doesn't matter who you are. It's like, oh, I haven't got a good enough job, or I've got kids, or I haven't got kids, or I haven't got a house, or there's always something, isn't there?
Yeah. Absolutely. Definitely. I mean, the other kind of top tip that I would give people is to be kind to yourself and make it easy for yourself. Like if somebody lives over the other side of London, for example, get them to travel to meet you, because you're the one that's got bloody cancer, you know, with fatigue and appointments and you know, a crap immune system or whatever. Like, make it easy for you. Get them to meet you near your work or near your home or wherever it is that you want to go on your date, or a virtual date, even better. Because then you don't have to waste your time if they turn out to be like, you know, 50 stone heavier than their photos or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's a piece of advice that I remember from my first coming along to the Dating After Cancer session. And I'd been traveling across London and getting dressed up and, you know, and instantly going into, I mean, you guys probably recognize this as well, but you know, when you go in for a date and the minute you see the person, you're like, they seem really nice, but they're not. There's no.
You just don't fancy them.
From first dates, I see there's no connection, or there's no electricity or no spark or anything. Essentially, like, you don't fancy someone, I think sometimes, and traveling across the whole of London and putting so much effort and pressure, and then just being like, so yeah, I remember taking that piece of advice and just going to my local pub for a beer and just thinking, oh, this is just a drink with someone new. Like, it's not meeting my future wife or something, and just and I think it's interesting as well around people that might be watching this and feeling like they're not quite ready to throw themselves out there dating 100 people, but also do want to build up that confidence. I think it's really important that, like, you can go on some apps and just chat to people, meet people, and say, oh, I'm not quite ready to meet people in person yet, but I just want to chat. And even that can be a great confidence builder as well, I think. And I certainly find that helpful as well. Just and then practice your script, maybe. There's all sorts of ways you can build your confidence without actually going on a massive speed dating event or something, which is terrifying to a lot of people. So
including me. And, you know, just to be clear, I didn't date 100 people at the same time. That would put me in like a different league, I think. But, like, you know, there's other kind of little bits and bobs that you can do in terms of dating tips. Like, usually if somebody's got one photograph up, you can't really get a sense of what they look like. You need like several photos, and don't be scared to ask them to send you more pictures as well. But maybe I can share like the top tips thing that we've done in the past, Neil. We could share that in the chat or do something like that.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. And I think we're just coming up to the end of time for this recording. But as I mentioned at the start, we're going to go into Q&A after this. If you do have any specific questions, you can ask them. And then afterwards, I'll give you my email afterwards. And if there's any that you want to just ask in private, you can email us and let us know as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer anything.
Yeah, me too. And just to say, no question is a stupid question. No. Like, you can ask us anything. So please do.
Yeah.
Looking forward to hearing some of your questions. I think with this session, we're hoping that we can sort of just give people a little bit of advice on things that might have helped us. We're not going to match you up with 50 people all of a sudden. We're not sort of fairies or genies in that respect. But yeah, let us know if you do have any questions, and we will see you very shortly.